y'all, it's Hope at Crafty Hope and welcome. I think I'm about to work on the Seek, Gather, Create challenge for week 3. This is a mixed media scavenger hunt challenge that comes from, who does it come from? It comes from Laura, Lisa, Tina, and Melanie. I think that's right, y'all. I get on camera and I forget all my facts, all my words. Like I said, this is week 3 of 4, and this week they have asked us to gather something green and insect, something sticky, and typography or letters. I've got all kinds of things swirling in my head, so let me tell you what I've got. And that is, for something green, I pulled out, this is some reindeer moss, I think is what it's called. It's just some fake moss stuff from the Dollar Tree. I like it. It gives that woodsy feel to things. I've also got a couple shades of Distress Oxide, a Distress Spray Stain. I think I also have a Cracked Pistachio Oxide spray and other sprays. That's just what I grabbed first. Green embroidery floss. And then I've got this alcohol ink dyed paper from my friend Terry. So I'm not sure which of those I will use. Yeah, I may not use any of those. It's just what I've pulled out. For an insect, the first thing I grabbed and what I will probably likely use is this. You know, I don't even know what kind of bug this is. Right now in my head, it is a lightning bug, and I may keep it like that. I don't know. I'm not positive at the moment, but it is a resin. I used resin in a mold and made this. But then I've also got these couple of Tim Holtz elements. I think this is from one of the, I think it's the Field Notes, maybe, kit, the ephemera kit. And so that's all I have for insect. But then, let's see. Oh, I also have beads that are green. Yeah, of course I've got beads. I've got more than this. This is was easy to pull out. Something sticky. I have stickers. These are, I think, just some dots, maybe. I think they're a scrapbooking brand that I got a bunch of. And then these are just big, I don't know if you can even see that, labels. They are like this big and that big. So they are labels that I may try to color. And then typography or letters, I instinctually pulled these out. I love these 2 stamps. Great background stamps. But I was also thinking about even just using my typewriter and including a sentiment. I don't know if that counts as typewriter or letter. I mean, as typography or letters. I'm not positive. I mean, I guess it, you know, if I want it to count, it counts. But my idea is to maybe alter a Matchbox. That, I mean, depending on what my title is down there, you know whether or not I'm doing a Matchbox. But that's my idea, and I keep thinking on it. And I tried to look up and watch here on YouTube some tutorials on how other people alter Matchboxes, and I hadn't found a whole lot. There were, you know, very few. I mean, I'm sure there's a bazillion videos out there, but they are hard to find. Yeah. Anyway, I am going to think on this and maybe do some testing on my stickers to figure out off camera how I want to use them, and I will be back. Yeah. The first thing I decided to do was go ahead and alter some of those labels. I had tested this off camera, but I am showing you what I'm doing. And I've got some light brown paint. I can't even remember the color, like taupe or something. And I'm using my brayer to brayer it out. And then I'm bringing in a parchment yellowy color. And I will, instead of just putting that down on the label, I'm using a paintbrush to kind of put it in some specific spots where maybe some of that brown didn't get. And again, I'm going to brayer it. My idea for this was to get kind of an aged book feel of something. Now, I could use an aged book, but I wanted to both use the sticky and the typography, the stamps. So this is how I am bringing those in. So I started by putting those paints down, and now I'm going to use Stays On and that stamp with like the typewriter letters on it, because I love it. And because I'm working on a Matchbox, I felt like you could see these smaller letters. Wow. Smaller letters a little bit better than those big ones. Now, the last thing I'm going to do to age this is that is some walnut ink crystals and water just mixed together in a little dropper bottle. And so I'm going to just stick that on the stamp and again, brayer this out. And y'all, this really, I don't know, there's something about this that makes it magic. So once that is down, I'm going to show you the other one I did as well. I'm not even going to use that one. I thought having two would make sure I had a backup, but I really just needed the one. It's 2 stickers on each of those. But yeah. So I'm going to put those aside and go ahead and start on my insect. And I'm using this is Prima Marketing's Heavy Black Gesso. And I'm going to paint this bug black just to get started. I did look up online what a lightning bug or a firefly looks like, y'all. And I knew this before looking them up. They're ugly bugs. They are not like super pretty. I love lightning bugs. Like I could sit outside in the summer and just watch them for hours. But they're not pretty bugs. So they're mostly black with like a off-whitey yellow and like red on their heads. So you can go look them up if you want. And I'm going to try to emulate that on this bug. But this bug's a lot prettier than lightning bugs actually are. All right, I had gotten too much of that black gesso out, and that was fine because I wanted to paint my box. So I'm basically, I think I'm painting all the sides, I'm painting the whole thing except for the bottom. I will paint the bottom of it later down the line. That's one of the last things I'll do in this video, and I don't know why, but it's really the way I'm doing this. There's no need for you to ever even really see a lot of this, of the inside portion of the Matchbox. So it's you can pull it out and see it, but it's not necessary the way I'm doing this. All right, now that I have all of that painted and it is dry, I decided to go ahead and, or maybe it's drying. Anyway, I'm going to use that altered sticker that has both sticky and typography and wrap it around my Matchbox, or the outside of that Matchbox, the sleeve portion. And it only covers so much of it, so I'll trim off the excess and then use some more of that sticker and wrap it. I'm going to overlap some of these pieces and just make sure it lays down. Now, I thought about adding like a sealer to it, but whatever these labels are made out of, they stuck pretty well. I mean, I could go back in and put more sealer on it, but yeah, it's not necessary right now. Unless this gets handled a ton, it doesn't need it. So as you can see, I am just wrapping it, whatever will cover the whole thing. And yeah, simply using my scissors and trimming the excess. Now I could have measured this and made this really complicated, but y'all, that's really not my style. I felt like if I messed up this Matchbox, I bought a whole pack of them. I can go pull out another Matchbox. That was the way I was feeling this. So I'm getting another little layer over. I could have just put a little strip there on that one edge, but I felt like that might not be enough. So I wrapped it a little bit around the corners. And then I've got one little section that's not covered on that end. So that little scrap that's sitting there, I'm going to just wrap it and then trim everything down. Now I went ahead and wrapped this. All right, the next thing I'm going to do, you'll see, we'll get to it in a second. I'm trying to get ahead of myself, and I apologize for that. So I'm looking at this. I'm going to pull my bug out and put it, in the, if I can find it, put it there on my cover there to figure out like how much of it I need to cut off, because I'm going to make a window in this. So I'm using a pencil to just measure that out, and then I'm going to use a craft knife to cut it. Now, obviously, I could have unfolded the whole Matchbox and done it laying flat. That would have been a heck of a lot easier than this way, but it would have been a lot harder to wrap that sticker around the Matchbox. So that was just my thinking. I don't know. I could have cut it flat, laid the Matchbox out, laid the sticker out and then cut it, but whatever. This was just how it made sense in my mind. So I took it slow. It's not perfect, but that's okay. It's my art, and I kind of like when it's a bit rusty. That's my jam, is kind of rustic grunginess. So I have got that cut. I wasn't super happy with one of the sides, but I'm going to slide that in there, make sure it looks cool. And and like I said, one of those sides was just not exactly what I wanted, so I'm going to trim it down just a little bit. Again, being super careful. That craft knife, I just replaced that blade, so I know it's super sharp. And I'm very scared of cutting myself. I am quite prone to nicking myself on things. So once I got it as well as could be, I go ahead and put that craft knife up and pull in a, I think I've got some walnut stained distress ink on that dauber thing that I'm going to go around those inside edges as well as basically all the outside edges of this Matchbox. Just again, give it some age, make everything look super nice. And then also where I cut all of the sticker paper, that kind of takes that white of where it was cut off. All right, so that is looking good. What am I going to do next? So I've got pulled in some acetate. Y'all, I think that is just some that I got off like the front of a pack of stamps, like those clear stamps. And I'm measuring that inside drawer of the Matchbox, and I used my Stabilo All pencil to write on it because it writes on all surfaces. And I'm cutting on, if I can see it, it's really, really, really hard to see, but cutting that acetate down just under where I measured. And I am going to, and I'm double checking it before I do anything, and use some glossy accents. And I'm just going to put the glossy accents around the outer edge of that acetate. I'm sorry y'all can't see this. I could not think of a way to film that y'all could see it. But trust me, it is around the edge. And I'm going to slip that into my Matchbox sleeve and be careful not to smear that glossy accent. So don't like slide it across the top. And put it in there. The glossy accents I saw a video from somebody here recently that said that glossy accents was the best thing they had found to use with acetate. So that's why I used it. So thanks for that. It was somebody on the Jelly Arts site. And it was in one of the Matchbox videos I saw. If I can find that one, I will link that so y'all could see that because it was a neat little pop-up Matchbox thing that I saw. Okay. Now that I've got my little window made, I'm going to alter my bug, and I'm using that same parchment colored yellow and a dry brush to just lightly with very little paint go over my bug just so that some of the texture of it shows up. And then I'm going to pull in this other red. It's called tomato red. I cannot find this color anywhere. It doesn't exist anymore. I don't know. But again, using a dry brush and just a little bit of paint. Actually, that brush wasn't dry, so I had to go and get a dry brush and just a little bit of paint. I am putting a little red on the head and a little tiny bit on the wings. It kind of shows up on the head, which is all I really want. Anyway, like I said, that's what lightning bugs kind of look like. So once that is dry, I didn't even really wait for it to dry. I pulled out my gold leaf rub and buff, and I'm going to put a little bit there on the craft sheet and use another tiny paintbrush if I can find one, and I'm going to put that straight on his little, I don't know what you call that part of his body, his tail, the part that lights up on a lightning bug. So I put that gold on there, and I'm going to rub it back just a little so that some of the black still shows through. And since I had plenty of that gold out, I'm going ahead and going around the edges of him just to make him feel a little more finished. And I'm not worried about the bottom of him because that's going to get glued down. I'm not super concerned about having that. And that's just a barrier between what I'm gluing to and the resin. So I'm not going to use that. And I did have enough of that rub and buff that I went ahead and went lightly over the wings just to give an accent. And y'all, I love that bug. I love it so much. It's this whole project tickles the fire out of me. It came together even better than I imagined. So I hope y'all like it. There's going to be a bazillion photos at the end. I am sorry. All right, so for my something green, I decided to just use that reindeer moss. I put a bunch of Aliens tacky glue in the bottom of the drawer of my Matchbox, and I'm stuffing that reindeer moss in there. Like I said, this is my something green. And I think the bug looks beautiful on it. And I left all of that to dry overnight. I'm going to come back in with a tiny, tiny hole punch. That's like a 1.5 millimeter hole punch. I am sorry I am off camera. I was having a hard time with it because it doesn't really go in far enough to punch this hole. Next time I may use just an awl or something to punch the hole. So I used a white marker to figure out where my center was and kind of where I was aiming for, and then I punched my hole. So, just like that. So I have a hole, and what I want to bring in is, you can kind of see it there, it's some baker's twine, a brown baker's twine that I'll be using. But I was real concerned about anything I put in there pulling through that hole or breaking the Matchbox. So I talked to my husband about it for a second, and he said if I had a bar of something that I tied it to, it would make it more stable. So y'all, I cut down a toothpick using, those are some dog nail clippers. So I cut down a toothpick to the same width as that drawer, and I'm going ahead and painting it black. And I left it, actually I think I used my tool to dry it. And I also, since I did have that gesso out, I went ahead and touched up a couple areas that needed it while it was there. All right, so once there's the baker's twine, I'm going to cut it down. I'm going to cut a fairly long length of it just to have it. All right, so I'm going to do a half hitch knot over the top of that. That's where you make a loop and then go through the loop. This was really hard on such a tiny, tiny surface as that, like half of a toothpick. But once I got it down and tied, it was pretty secure. Now I cannot get the ends of the baker twine through that tiny hole, so I pulled in some wax linen cord, and I'm going to make a loop there, and my loop is going to go through that tiny hole, and I'm going to open that loop in the wax linen and put my 2 cords of the baker's twine through it and then pull that through. It's an easy threading technique, though I advise you to do this slow and careful. Don't yank or pull. You may break your hole and tear it and defeat the entire purpose of putting that stick there. So I took it slow and steady and got that all through there. Now I'm going to use some E6000 to glue my little toothpick stick security stabilizer. And just putting, you can see I'm using one of those ends of that toothpick because I couldn't find another toothpick on my desk. So I'm just getting that E6000 on there and pulling that stick up there to stabilize everything. Nice, just like that. Once that is in there, I can start assembling the inside of my box. So I'm going to use that E6000 while it is out and put it on the back of my resin bug and stick it in there on top of that reindeer moss. And I start to realize that some of that moss is still kind of loose in there. So I'll grab the tacky glue, and stick some more of it down. I have to do this a couple times, and so I don't think I show it all to you, but just trying to make sure everything's going to be where I want it. Now, before I started on this, I had gone in the other room and used my typewriter to type up here, Let Your Light Shine, on, that's some coffee dyed book paper. Just, you can see on the margins of it. So that's all I wanted was some, aged looking paper. So I put that on there, and I'm going to cut it down. And I'm trying to make sure it fits in the box before I stick anything down, because I wasn't sure if the light shine portion would be too wide or not, but it is perfect. So I'll use I'm going to use that dauber thing again, and the what did I say that was, walnut stain, and go around the edges to make this feel just a little more finished and aged and all of that. Just, it's a little something I'm starting to try to make sure I add to things. So I will use the glossy accents to glue that down because it's already on my desk, and why bring another glue in? I've already got like 3 different adhesives in this. So I'm going to put that down. That, it always has trouble coming out, but it works really well when it does. And y'all, I have to tell you, I didn't like try to figure out where the window was and these should go. I just happened to luck up that I put these in the right place. I'm really happy about this. So I'm going to get this other one stuck down, and I'm pressing it really as much as I can into the reindeer moss. I actually found that, and I think I kept this in here, that there wasn't quite enough moss on the right side of that bottom sentiment. So I'm going to, it was kind of bothering me. I was trying to make sure all that moss that was loose came out. So I'll bring in some tweezers and lift up that side that has nothing to stick to and put more tacky glue and more moss in there, just so that that sentiment has something to stick to. Just trying to secure everything up. And I did leave that to dry just briefly. But the next thing I'm going to do is I want to add a bead on the top. So I'm using that same piece of wax linen cord to go through that bead again at the loop side. And then I will pull my cord, that baker's twine, through it all so that it threads the baker's twine onto that bead. And then I'm going to tie just a regular overhand knot right at the top of that bead just to secure it in place. And that kind of sandwiches everything there, that toothpick and the bead and everything, so that it feels a little more stable. And at the top of the twine, I'm going to tie another just overhand knot so that this can hang from something. I forgot to trim the excess up there at the top, but it's okay. You'll see it in the pictures. It's not a big deal. And once this is all dry, I do paint. Here's where I'm going to go ahead and paint the back of my Matchbox drawer. Like I said, I don't intend, this fits in the box really tightly, so I don't expect to be pulling it in and out, but whatever. Alright guys, that is pretty much this entire project. No, I think I've got one more thing. I'm trying to get ahead of myself. I decide once I get that in there, I can see where some of the label is overlapping, and so I decide to take my Uniball Signo gold gel pen and just kind of go around that frame a little bit to give it a little bit of sparkle too. Just real sketchily, nothing fancy, no loops, no swirls, just some sketchy lines. All right, and that is it for my week 3 project for Seek, Gather, Create. I want to thank the 4 hostesses for this challenge. I'm absolutely thrilled with what I came up with this week. This challenge always pushes me to try and do more, and I absolutely appreciate that. So I'm going to have links to all of them below and encourage you to go follow them over on Instagram and here on YouTube. All right, y'all, thank you so much for watching. If you like this, give me a thumbs up. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see y'all real soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.